Ladies and gentlemen, before he became a legend, before Apple changed the world, he was just a college dropout with a dream and relentless belief in thinking differently. Steve Jobs wasn't just an inventor, he was a visionary who challenged the norm, redefined success, and lived every day like it could be his last. In this rare and powerful message, hear the timeless advice from Steve Jobs that has inspired millions and might just change your life forever. When I look back on everything I've done, the triumphs, the failures, the nights filled with doubt, and the moments of unbelievable clarity, one thing becomes very clear. None of it would have happened if I had followed a safe path, if I had done what I was supposed to do, if I had listened to all the voices that told me what success should look like. The truth is, what really changed my life, what made all the difference, was following something much deeper than money, safety, or logic. I followed what I loved. That might sound simple. It might even sound like motivational fluff. But let me tell you something that most people don't say out loud. Chasing money or success directly almost never works. You might get somewhere for a while. You might land a high-paying job. You might impress your friends or your parents. But you won't feel alive. You won't wake up every morning excited to create. And when life gets hard, which it always does, that fake motivation, that artificial goal, it won't be strong enough to carry you through. When you follow your passion, something you actually care about, everything changes. You stop working for the weekend. You stop pretending. You start creating. You start living on your own terms. You start building something that actually matters to you. And when that happens, people notice. The world responds to authenticity. The world responds to people who are doing what they were meant to do. People who are fully alive. See, the world doesn't need more people who are just doing what they think they're supposed to do. The world needs people who are on fire. People who bring something to life because they care so deeply that they can't not do it. That's how innovation happens. That's how meaningful success happens. That's how impact is created. But here's the hard truth. Following your passion isn't easy. It's risky. It's scary. There's no map, no guarantee. You have to be willing to trust yourself even when nothing makes sense yet. You have to be willing to walk away from comfort, from approval, and instead walk towards something that might take years to make sense. But if you don't do that, you'll wake up one day and realize you've spent your whole life building someone else's dream, living someone else's life. That, to me, is the real failure. You don't find passion, you build it. You discover it by trying things, by getting your hands dirty, by falling down and getting back up. You explore, you get curious. You say yes to what excites you and no to what drains you. The more you do that, the more your purpose reveals itself. It doesn't show up all at once, like a sign in the sky. It shows up little by little like breadcrumbs, and you follow them. And let me be clear, following your passion doesn't mean it's always fun. Sometimes you'll hate it. Sometimes it will exhaust you. But deep down, you'll know that it matters, and that's what gets you through. That's what gives you strength when everything feels like it's falling apart. That's what makes the sacrifices worth it. Too many people wait for permission to start doing what they love. They think they need a degree or experience or the right timing. But the truth is, the right time never comes. The world isn't going to hand you your dream on a silver platter. You have to claim it. You have to choose it every single day, even when it doesn't make sense. Especially when it doesn't make sense. And I want to tell you something important. The people who change the world, the ones who build real success, they're not smarter than you. They're not more talented. They just decided they weren't going to settle. They weren't going to live a life of quiet desperation. They chose to pursue something meaningful, and they didn't stop even when it got hard. Especially when it got hard. So if there's something inside you, a small voice, an idea, a dream you've pushed down for too long, listen to it. Not because it's safe, not because it's guaranteed to work, but because it's yours, because it's the only thing that will truly fulfill you, because it's the only path that leads to the kind of success that actually matters. Don't live someone else's life. Don't chase what looks good from the outside. Follow what sets your soul on fire and let that fire light your way. Looking back, it's easy to see how everything connects, but while you're living it, none of it makes sense. That's the strange thing about life. You don't get the full picture when you're in the middle of it. You just get moments. Some moments make you feel like you're on top of the world. Others make you question if you're even on the right path. But if you keep moving forward, if you keep listening to that inner voice, the one that isn't influenced by fear or other people's expectations, eventually you start to realize that every step you took, even the ones that felt like detours or failures, had a purpose. When I dropped out, it didn't feel noble or courageous. It felt confusing. I had no roadmap, no safety net, no idea where it was going to lead, but I stayed curious. I walked into classes that had nothing to do with a career. I studied calligraphy, not because it would get me a job, but because it was beautiful and it moved me. At the time, it felt completely random. But years later, when it came time to design something meaningful, something elegant, all of that made sense. All those dots started to connect. That's how life works. You have to be patient enough to let the dots connect backwards. You can't force them to align in the moment. Most people spend their lives trying to force everything into a straight line. They want clarity, certainty, guarantees. But real purpose doesn't show up that way. Life, changing advice, true success, meaningful direction, it comes from trusting the process, even when it doesn't make sense. Especially when it doesn't make sense. The journey will test you, confuse you, sometimes even break you. But that's where the real growth happens. That's where the character is built. That's where you develop the mindset that creates something original. It's easy to trust when things are going your way, but how do you react when they don't? That's where everything shifts. That's where you discover who you really are. When I was pushed out of the company I helped build, it felt like a public failure. But in that space of loss, I found clarity again. I found the freedom to be creative again. I remembered why I started in the first place, not to build a company, but to build something I believed in. Something that mattered. If I hadn't experienced that setback, I would have never rediscovered that passion. It was in losing everything that I gained something far more valuable: perspective. You have to trust that the challenges are part of the design, that the difficult moments are shaping you, that the confusion is giving birth to clarity. The people who create meaningful work, the ones who leave a legacy, they don't walk a straight path. They follow a crooked road full of setbacks and uncertainty, but they never stop walking. They never stop believing that the path is unfolding exactly as it should. That's not blind faith, that's real courage. Success isn't just about talent, it's about resilience. It's about trusting your intuition when logic tells you to quit. It's about following your heart when no one else understands what you're doing. And the truth is, most people won't understand. They'll try to talk you into safety, into something predictable. But if you want to live a life that actually means something, a life that changes others, you can't live on their timeline. You can't build your dream using someone else's blueprint. The process will be messy. You'll question yourself, you'll make mistakes, but don't let that stop you. Don't try to make everything perfect before you begin. Just begin. Take one step, and then another. Let curiosity guide you. Let your mistakes teach you. Let your failures shape you. There is no wasted experience if you're willing to learn from it. Nothing you do with intention and heart is ever pointless. Every chapter, every choice, every risk, it all has a role to play in your story. The truth is, you already have what you need. You don't need more instructions. You need more trust in yourself, in your process, in your ability to figure things out even when you're unsure. Especially when you're unsure. Because when you keep going despite the fear, you build confidence. When you keep creating despite the doubt, you build momentum. And when you look back one day, you'll see that everything you thought was random was actually preparation. Every step, even the painful ones, led you to exactly where you needed to be. Just trust that the dots will connect. People spend so much of their lives trying to fit in. They try to blend into the system, follow the rules, please the crowd, do what's expected. But the ones who truly move the world forward, they don't fit in. They challenge the way things are done. They're not afraid to look crazy. And the truth is, if you're doing something that really matters, something that pushes boundaries or breaks new ground, people will call you crazy at first. They always do. That's how you know you're onto something important. There's this quiet pressure most people carry, the need to be accepted, to be validated, to belong. But here's the truth most never admit. Belonging is overrated when it means shrinking yourself to fit into a system that was never built for your potential. If you want to lead, if you want to innovate, if you want to make something original, you have to be willing to stand out. You have to be willing to question everything, even the things everyone else accepts without thinking, especially those things. Most of the breakthroughs I've seen didn't come from following the rules. They came from asking a different question, from being willing to look at the same problem through a completely different lens, from refusing to accept limitations just because everyone else did. That mindset, that ability to think different, to challenge the default, that's where real transformation begins. It's not easy. It's not always popular. But it's the only way to create something truly meaningful. If you want to live a life that matters, you can't let your thinking be trapped by tradition. You can't let fear of judgment dictate your vision. You weren't put here to copy someone else's version of success. You were put here to create your own, and the only way you do that is by having the courage to think independently, to trust your gut, to challenge what doesn't feel right even if everyone else is applauding it. There were times when I was told to follow the business playbook, play it safe, optimize for profit, minimize risk, and maybe that would have worked. Maybe I could have built something good, but I wasn't interested in good. I wanted something beautiful, something revolutionary, something people didn't even know they needed until they saw it. That kind of creation doesn't come from playing it safe. It comes from taking risks others aren't willing to take. It comes from caring about the details others ignore. It comes from believing in something so strongly that you're willing to be misunderstood, rejected, even ridiculed until they finally get it. You'll face resistance when you think differently. That's a guarantee. Some people will laugh, some will doubt you, some will walk away, but don't let that stop you. Let it sharpen you. Let it clarify your mission. Because every person who ever changed the world in art, in technology, in education, in leadership, they were willing to be misunderstood for a long time. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for consensus. They saw the future in a way others couldn't, and they moved toward it anyway. When you follow your own path, you'll have to make hard choices. Sometimes you'll have to let go of comfort. Sometimes you'll have to say no to easy opportunities that don't align with your vision. Sometimes you'll feel alone. But remember, the crowd is often loudest when you're closest to something real. Keep going. Keep creating. Keep trusting that what you see is worth building, even if no one else sees it yet. Don't waste your life trying to be someone else. Don't dilute your gift just to make others comfortable. If something inside you feels like it was made for more, pay attention to that feeling. That's your edge. That's your signal. That's your power, and no one else can define it but you. The world doesn't need more copies. It needs originals, people who aren't afraid to take risks, to lead with vision, to do things differently. People who will break patterns instead of repeating them. People who care more about doing what's right than doing what's expected. So if you feel out of place, if you think differently, if your ideas don't fit in with what's normal, don't shrink back. Lean in. That's where the gold is. That's where all the breakthroughs happen. That's where your real life begins. There's one simple truth that has shaped every decision I've ever made, one thought that has kept me focused, grounded, and brutally honest with myself. I'm going to die. And so are you. Now, that might sound dark or even depressing, but it's not. It's the opposite. It's liberating. When you really accept that your time here is limited, it changes how you live. You stop wasting your energy on things that don't matter. You stop holding back. You start asking the real questions about purpose, about passion, about what kind of life you want to leave behind. Most people live as if they're going to be here forever. They push their dreams to someday. assuming that the perfect moment will come. They wait to take risks. They wait to speak up. They wait to start, but someday never arrives. It just becomes yesterday. And before they know it, they've spent years living on autopilot, following routines they didn't choose, chasing goals they didn't define, becoming versions of themselves they never intended to be. When I realized that death isn't something that happens to other people, that it's coming for all of us, I started living with urgency, not panic, not fear, just clarity. Every morning I'd ask myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I be doing what I'm about to do? And if too many days passed where the answer was no, I knew something had to change. That question kept me honest. It stripped away the noise. It reminded me that every second counts. Because once you accept that time is your most limited resource, you stop giving it away so easily. You stop spending it on things and people that drain your energy. You stop being afraid of failure, because the bigger risk is regret. You stop trying to look good and start trying to be good, to be real, to be bold, to be the person you were meant to be. There's something powerful that happens when you live as if your time is short. You get clear, you get intentional. You stop trying to impress people and start trying to impact them. You let go of perfection and start telling the truth. You stop waiting to be chosen and start building what you believe in. You stop trying to control everything and start trusting that every moment has a purpose, even the painful ones. Living with urgency doesn't mean rushing. It means refusing to waste your life being passive. It means creating instead of consuming. It means choosing courage over comfort. It means doing work that matters to you, not just work that fills a calendar or pays a bill. It means loving people fully, saying the things you've been scared to say, making peace with the past, and leaning all the way into the life that's in front of you right now. It also means letting go of fear. Most people are so afraid to fail, to look foolish, to make a mistake, but all of that fades when you remember that none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. You can spend your whole life playing it safe, never taking a leap, never risking embarrassment, and still, time will run out. So why not go for it? Why not try? Why not give the world the fullest version of yourself while you still can? It's easy to get distracted, easy to think you have more time, easy to think you can fix it later, change later, start later. But later is a myth. This moment right here, right now, is all you really have. What you do with it is your legacy, not someday, not when it's convenient, now. Ask yourself honestly, are you living the life you truly want? Or just the one you think you're supposed to live? Are you choosing your days with intention? Or are you letting them pass by, waiting for something to change without taking action? Because at the end of it all, it won't matter how polished your resume was, how many followers you had, or how well you played it safe. What will matter is whether you showed up fully, whether you lived with purpose, whether you left something behind that meant something to someone. You don't need more time. You need more truth. You need more fire. You need to stop asking for permission and start acting like your life actually matters, because it does. Every single second does. Remember, you're already running out of time.